Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 20. The chapter is titled as The Rainy Season and Autumn. Text 5. Ashtau Masan Nipitam Yat Bhumya Cha Udamayam Vasu Swagobihi Moktum Arebe Parjanyaha Kale Agate Ashtau Masan Nipitam Yat Ashtau Masan Nipitam Yat Bhumyas Chodamayam Vasu Bhumyas Chodamayam Vasu Swagobir Moktumarebe Swagobir Moktum Arebe Parjanya Kala Agate Parjanya Kala Agate Ashtau Masan Nipitam Yat Bhumyas Chodamayam Vasu Swagobir Moktumarebe Parjanya Kala Agate Ashtau Masan Nipitam Yat Bhumyas Chodamayam Vasu Swagobir Moktumarebe Parjanya Kala Agate. Matajis. Ashtau 8. Masan during months. Nipitam drunk. Yat which. Bhumyaha of the earth. Cha and. Udamayam consisting of water. Vasu the wealth. Swagobihi by his own race. Moktum to release. Arebe began. Parjanyaha the sun. Kale the proper time. Agate when it arrived. Translation and purport by disciples of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. With its rays, the sun had for 8 months drunk up the earth's wealth in the form of water. Now that the proper time has arrived, the sun began releasing this accumulated wealth. Purport. The Acharyas compare the sun's evaporating the earth's wealth of water to a king's collecting taxes. In Volume 1, Chapter 20 of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada explains this analogy as follows. Clouds are accumulated water drawn from the land by the sunshine. Continually for 8 months, the sun evaporates all kinds of water from the surface of the globe, and this water is accumulated in the shape of clouds, which are distributed as water when there is need. Similarly, government exacts various taxes from the citizens, which the citizens are able to pay by their different material activities, agriculture, trade, and industry. Thus, the government can also exact taxes in the form of income tax and sales tax. This is compared to sun drawing water from the earth. When there is again need of water on the surface of the globe, the same sunshine converts the water into clouds and distributes it all over the globe. Similarly, the taxes collected by the government must be distributed to the people as educational work, public work, sanitation work, and so on. This is essential for a good government. The government should not simply exact taxes for useless squandering. The tax collection should be utilized for the public welfare of the state. Namo Vishnupataya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swaminiti Namine. Namo Vishnupataya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashyati Teshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu-Nityananda Shri Advaita Kadadara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Ashtau Masa Nipitam Yat Bhumyas Chodamayam Vasu Swagobir Muktumarebe Parijanya Kalagate. Once translation again. With its rays, the sun had for 8 months drunk up the earth's wealth in the form of water. Now that the proper time has arrived, the sun began releasing the accumulated wealth. Hare Krishna. So, we are continuing with the 20th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam's 10th canto. And the chapter is titled as The Rainy Season and the Autumn. So the entire chapter, starting from yesterday, we saw that, there is some beautiful description of how this autumn and the rainy season was there in Vrindavan. And the analogies used, the kind of descriptions, the kind of detailing that has been given in this chapter about each and everything, about how the entire circumstances were, how the environment was there during this seasonal changes that was happening in Vrindavan. Now this is a beautiful chapter for another sense also, and also very unique, that Srila Prabhupada actually released a book called The Light of Bhagavatam. The book actually was a small book which was prepared for a special occasion. And what he did is that he took this 20th chapter of 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam and he explained each and every verse with a very, very philosophical twist to it, so that the common man can understand what is the actual philosophy of Srimad Bhagavatam. In fact, this happened in 1961 when Srila Prabhupada was in Vrindavan. He was doing his work. And then Prabhupada was invited for an international conference in Japan. The international conference was for the World Congress for Reviving Human Consciousness. That was the event name. And Srila Prabhupada was invited to go and speak there. So he wanted to speak the philosophy of Srimad Bhagavatam there. And what he did, he chose this chapter and he found this to be so appropriate that this chapter can be used to convey the message of entire Srimad Bhagavatam. So what he did, he prepared 48 commentaries on each verses with a beautiful analogy on how practical tips that one can draw from the chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is a very beautiful thing he did. In fact, he went one step ahead, and also what he wanted is to publish a book. And that Light of Bhagavatam actually was published later after Srila Prabhupada left. But he could not attend the program for some unfortunate situation. He didn't went for the event. But what he wrote and kept was later, converted into a beautiful book. At that time, Srila Prabhupada also had a beautiful plan that he wanted to actually, for each verse, he also wanted to create one unique painting, because it's a nature's description of the entire stuff. And he thought that the Oriental people, that is the Far Eastern countries like China, Japan and other people, they are more attuned to the worship of nature, or more attuned, or they are more, tuned to the nature per se. So what he thought is that, beautiful paintings can be done for each verse or each commentary, and that too in their style. That is the Chinese style. They call it Gongbi style. The Gongbi style is so unique that, it is so different from the modern art. The modern art, we can see many places we have been there, we have seen, where the modern art, they display something and they leave to the imagination of the viewer to choose whatever they want to incur from the drawing or from the painting. See, the painting is there, some clouds are there, some horse is running, or some brush has been painted like this. And every one of them will give us different explanation of what this painting is for. That is the modern art. But this Oriental art is that every detail is actually given in the art itself. There is no speculation that has been allowed for the viewer to do on the painting. So Srila Prabhupada actually wanted that painting to be in that style, and then, displayed on the event. And so that when he speaks, all the audience who are coming from all around the globe will be able to understand the crux of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, such a unique thing that this chapter was, in the mind of Srila Prabhupada, among the entire chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam, that he chose this chapter to explain to the whole world about the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, it's a very unique chapter. So, coming back to the purport today and what we saw yesterday also, that a beautiful analogy has been given here, that the seasonal change has happened in Vrindavan, that the clouds have come, dark clouds, evening dark clouds have come. Srila Prabhupada writes in that Light of Srimad Bhagavatam that, when the clouds come in the evening, you cannot see the stars, you cannot see the moon, and it becomes so dark that, the whole clouds have engulfed the entire place. It becomes so darkish, bluish clouds, Srila Prabhupada writes. And he compares it to the materialistic life. The materialistic life, that is the godless civilization, is also without any light of Bhagavatam, light of, the Bhagavat Katha, the light of, having God at the center of it. So, the darkish nature of the godless civilization of the material world, he compares to the evening dark clouds that have engulfed the entire world. And when the Bhagavata comes out, Bhagavata means the person Bhagavata or the Grantha Bhagavata, when that actually illuminates a light, and that he compares to the lightning and thunder. When a lightning comes, that a flash of light comes into the entire darkness that has been engulfed by the clouds. And that small bit of lightning, which actually gives you a hope, yes, we are going to get some rain, we are going to get out of this darkness. So Srila Prabhupada writes that, this is the exact thing, that when the Bhagavata comes and presents the Srimad Bhagavatam, or the Bhagavad Grantha, which actually gives you the entire, the crux of what you have to do in this life, what is the goal of life, that is a glimmer of hope that you get. That yes, there is a hope that we can come out of this material world. We can come out of this, godless civilization. So this is the analogy which Prabhupada gives. He also makes a comment that this bluish dark clouds are very artificial. The clouds come at an artificial time. We can also see that nowadays when we are in the verge of rainy season, that, the whole day there is strong sun, bright sunshine. Then suddenly in the evening, like, within some half an hour, you get some dark clouds engulf the entire place. And Srila Prabhupada writes, this is so artificial. The modern civilization is so artificially lived. We can see in our daily walks of life that how artificial we have become. The artificialness can be even seen, when you go outside, people ask you, how are you? The question itself is asked in such a tone that they don't want to hear how you are. It is just asked for the sake of asking, how are you? If you answer even, I'm not fine, I'm not doing good, I have a problem, are they going to come and solve your problem? No. They just expect an answer fine from you. They just expect answer, I'm okay, and walk off. So that is the artificial nature of living here. Even we can see among the family members, there is no dealing of love. There is no dealing of, a warmthness in that. Every relationship, every association is actually based on some return, an investment and return. Father thinks that I have invested so much of money in my son's education, how the son will return it back to me in the form of job or in the form of working. Or the father and the mother thinks actually that I have taken care of this child from the younger age, that after I get old, he will, take care of me. There is no parental love. There is no friendly love. There is no love in this entire civilization, which is actually very artificial. So what Prabhupada says is that this is so temporary, that every relationship is temporary. Every relationship has been, conjoined because of some temporary give and take relationship. So the entire life is also like that. Even if you see today, what many of the people do do in their life, wasting time, even the looking at the Facebook or even posting something in the Facebook itself is artificial. Why it is artificial? Because, why do we do that? To get some, visibility. That I am here, I have some 1,000 friends. What I am doing is what somebody should note. What I have not done is somebody should be happy with what I am. I have gone for this trip, I have gone for there. So people should be, envious of me. And sometimes people play hours and hours in the video games. What do they get out of their life? Nothing in reality. It's an artificial life. So the point is that most of the time we spend in our lives every day is so artificial. Even among the family members, even the time-wasting methods which we actually engage upon ourselves, it's all become so artificial. The only reality or the only thing that is actually reality for this life or for the soul is the Bhagavad Grantha or the Bhagavatas or the devotees whom you can serve or whom you can associate. Otherwise, the entire thing, life is lost in artificial living, life is lost in artificial dealings, life will be lost. That at the end of the life, we'll be thinking, what have I done to this entire life? Wasting. So we have to understand that, we have been very fortunate, very, very fortunate that, a person like Srila Prabhupada who came and gave us the actual, message in a very, very easy way by which even fools like us can understand. Otherwise, think of it that, these lines of Srimad Bhagavatam, the explanation of the autumn season in Vrindavan, how you are going to understand how it applies in our life. It would have looked like a poetic thing. See, that's what Prabhupada also told in that book, Light of Bhagavata, that, there are two stages in that book. He writes in the preface to that book, that, there are two stages in that book. One stage, or the step one, is the beautiful words of Srimad Bhagavatam. And in that, there are so much of poetic description of each and every line of Srimad Bhagavatam. And he also wanted to add those paintings, as I told earlier. And phase two is that he wants to give the philosophical analogy for each verse. And what he thought, these philosophical analogy is your practical tips of how to live life, on how these, the topics of Srimad Bhagavatam can be applied in our life. So that's more important. So coming back to this entire thing, that what the analogy which Srila Prabhupada gives, that the limitless serene sky is the absolute truth. It is the Brahman, it's the absolute truth. Nothing can cover it. Nothing can, it is the, from which everything has emanated. And the clouds, which are going to fractionally cover some part of the Brahman, which is your living entity, are getting covered from time to time. The clouds covered certain area from time to time. After that, the clouds dissipate. So the same way, the living entities are being covered by Maya from time to time. And what is that covering? The cloud. What is that cloud? That covering is the tamas, or the enjoying propensity. The enjoying propensity that the living entity has developed or has a taste for it is the tamasic covering of the living entity. So forgetfulness, that, ego, the false ego, that, I am happy and I will be happy with these clouds, I will be happy with this Maya, I will be happy with what I am enjoying here. And that, the false ego is our forgetfulness. And Srila Prabhupada gives a very beautiful line that the forgetful living entity, either individually or collectively, make thunderous sound that it is mine and it is ours. It's a beautiful line. What he writes is, forgetful living entity, either individually or collectively. We can see that. We make thunderous sounds, we do some protest, we do, that it is mine, it is my right, it is my property, it's our property, it is our community property, it is, our caste thing. We collectively or individually are making noise. Like the thunderous crowd. The cloud is making some thunder. What is the use of the thunder? Nothing. So what happens is that we are also making some unnecessary noise, either collectively or individually, just because to show that it is mine and it is ours. It's a beautiful line, which Srila Prabhupada has explained. And the second point, which is our today's verse also comes, is that the time has come that, all the water that has been accumulated in the form of 8 months of sunshine now has to be dissipated. And what is the first sign of hope? The first sign of hope is the lightning. When the lightning comes, we are, the signal comes to us. Yes, we are going to get some rain. We are going to get some water. So the point is that, the same way when Srila Prabhupada explains about this, that the whole sky is a Brahman, is the absolute truth, and the living entity is getting covered, which is actually a part and parcel of the Brahman, and it is covered from time to time. And, only way by which it can come out is the light shown by the Bhagavatas, lightning which only can dissipate the cloud. So the lights are shown by Bhagavata like a torch. That's why we call Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya. Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. What we tell is that my Guru Maharaj or Guru has actually shown a torch, a beam of torch or a beam of knowledge, and that dissipated my tamasic covering of my, me and, me and mine, or, the egoistic false ego. So the point is that Srila Prabhupada writes in that same preface of Lights of Bhagavata, is that the Vedantic understanding of the entire purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam is to give us the actual purport of Vedanta. What the Vedanta teaches us is that what is the goal of life? What is the whole goal of human life? If the goal of human life is understood, then the message of Srimad Bhagavatam has been received correctly. If the goal of human life is not understood, then the Vedantic purport is not being understood properly. So Srila Prabhupada writes that the Vedanta itself is a medium of philosophical interpretation. The Vedanta itself is a medium of philosophical interpretation. Why he writes that? He writes the same thing, that the same analogy of the clouds and the sky, and the clouds covering a part of the sky, can also be explained in the monist and the dualist ideology also. An Advaitist can also explain the same thing, that the sky is a part and parcel, the human being is a part and parcel of the sky, the living entity is a part and parcel of the entire Brahman, and the covering is also from the part and parcel of this, and then we have to come out of it. And the same thing, the dualists also explain the same concept in a different attitude. So Srila Prabhupada writes, Vedanta, it's an interpretation of the philosophical interpretations. It's a medium of philosophical interpretation. And he writes that our own Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has explained it, that this philosophy has to be understood in Achintya Bhedabhed Tattva, which actually encapsulates both the monist and the dualist philosophy. There is nothing left for us to even speculate or even to understand that, there is there's nothing like a gray area left over. Everything has been explained in a detailed manner. So that is the beauty of, acharyas, that, they come and clear up the entire, the understanding of, see, for example, if you understand this, that Srila Prabhupada understands that this chapter 20 of this 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam gives you the Vedantic understanding of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. So that much, detailing. Yesterday we were discussing in here that, how much detailing that acharyas give. Each and every aspect is detailed so that there is nothing left over for the common man, that, he interprets in such a way he can make his own interpretation. That's why Srila Prabhupada used to write that, when people used to comment on Bhagavad Gita, he used to quote that, what has Krishna left for you to comment? Krishna has explained everything in a very, very detailed manner, in a very correct manner. And why do we need the interpretation from your teeny brain that, you have to come and explain us what is Sri Bhagavad Gita is? So that is why we depend on the Acharya's purports, Acharya's teachings, and their life is completely like a Mahajanayena Gatasa Pantaha. Their life is actually a pathway in which if we walk, our life will be always successful. So today's purport, Srila Prabhupada and the disciples of Srila Prabhupada explain about the scorching sun and how the government in the form of taxes is, usurping people with a lot of money. The sun also does that. When the summer comes, we feel so hot and everywhere it becomes dry. Sun takes away all the water, even a small particle of water that is lying on the globe, on the surface of the globe. Every water is absorbed. And the analogy given here is how, cruel the government officials are in imposing some heavy taxes on the humans, on the citizens. Taxes are such a thing, that really discriminates. Recently, we were discussing in a forum that, the taxes are there actually to make rich richer and poor poorer. The purpose, see, sun doesn't do that. What the sun do, that the sun actually takes away water irrespective of where the water is. Either it is in the ditch, or either it is in the pond, or either it is from the sea. It doesn't discriminate whether it is good water or bad water. But what the government do, the cruel governments, is that they discriminate. They think that these are the people who are helpless. These are the people whom, we can exploit. And these are the people whom we can impose heavy taxes. And they don't have any mouth. They don't have any say. They don't have any collective power. So keep on discriminating them. The rich have anyway, the rich are getting richer. We can see that, the taxes are the thing that actually creates inflation. It's a big economic concept. We can discuss some other day that how the taxes actually create the inflationary pressure by which the poorer are getting poorer and poorer. Say, if you save some money for your, old age, every year your saved money decreases by the inflationary increasement that has happened every year. If you have saved 100 rupees, this year inflation is 6%, 5%. Tomorrow your money has become 95 rupees worth. In second year, it has become 90 rupees worth. Third year, it has become 85 rupees worth. So the government is putting more and more taxes so that you become more and more poorer. And, the governments have been very cruel. In India in 1970, there was a tax for 97% tax. Think about it, that, there was a tax when Indira Gandhi imposed during 1970 that you earn 100 rupees, you have to pay 97 rupees and 3 rupees will be left with you. What a cruel thing. The governments are, they actually, for their own selfish needs, and what they do is, they actually do a lot of, wasteful expenditure. Srila Prabhupada writes in that light of Srimad Bhagavatam, second verse, that the monarch, when he actually engages in the wasteful expenditure, people actually think that, it's our karma that we have got a bad king. We have got a very bad king, that it was our bad karma that this fellow is actually, exploiting us. And Prabhupada writes in the second line, next line, but in the democratic government, the people cannot tell that because of karma, we have got a bad government, because we ourselves have chosen them. We have chosen them, and we have given the power to them, and they are going to what they have done. They come and plead you for votes, and you give the vote, and then what they do, they actually overpower you. And we have seen so many examples of how the money is misused. At least if the money is being taken care of properly, at least then we can think that we have worked hard, we have earned some money and given taxes, and the tax money has been utilized properly. Say for safety, public work, here they write that the people's money is used for educational purpose, work, public work, or sanitation, or something and so on. In the purport it is written. But today it is not happening. How the money is wasted. You cannot even think of. We are all in ignorance that, how the money is wasted. They are wasting crores and crores of money to install a pen in the seashore. What is the use of installing a pen in the seashore, spending some 100 crores? 100 crores worth of our money has been wasted. There is in another state, the government is selling chickens with the taxpayers' money. Can you even imagine? Another state in Tamil Nadu, and the scheme is called Kudumba Shri. Kudumba Shri Chicken Center. The taxpayers' money, the fellows are working very hard every day, and every money is taken out from them. Even if you are poor, you are paying indirect taxes. Even though we can say that below certain amount we are not paying taxes, but everything what you purchase a packet of biscuit, you purchase a packet of fruits, you purchase rice, everywhere there is GST, there is indirect taxes. So even the poorer fellow is paying more taxes than the richer fellow. The rich knows how to camouflage the expenses in the form of business expense. The poorer don't have any other way. They have to go and buy their food, they have to go and buy their material, they have to go and travel. And that money is wasted for selling chickens. And that money is wasted for, useless purposes. I was thinking the other day that, we are in a developing country, so the politicians are, cheating us in a very big way. The developed world is even worse. At least I can think that, we are very fortunate that this Punya Bhumi, India, is still not that bad. The developed countries are even much worse than us. Recently, there was this new government in US, and they went and found out what the previous government has spent the useless taxpayers' money on, so many unnecessary things. One of the expense they found out is for $50 million were spent by the previous government to produce personalized contraceptives for the human beings, where they will be doing 3D printing. With the 3D printing technology, everybody will be given a personalized contraceptive, for which $50 million were spent. And that is, at least you can say, in their own country they are spending. That is not the end. They are spending some useless money for some other country where you not even know where it is. $1 million was spent for transgender education in Peru. Why should American citizen pay for transgender education in Peru? Where is Peru? How many of you know where is Peru? Many of you don't know. And another $500,000 was spent to teach people about the DEI. There is another concept in the Western world called DEI. DEI means equity, inclusion, and no discrimination. So that kind of concept has to be brought in Serbia. What is there a connection between Serbia and US? So when we think that how we have to toil for each and every money we are earning in our life. And that is exactly why visionary like Srila Prabhupada gave the solution for it also. He knew 50 years ago that this kind of things will happen, and even going to go worse and worse only. After 50 years, even if we sit and discuss here, we will be discussing how our tax money has been wasted even more blatantly worse. So how to come out of it? The most easiest way to come out of it is what Srila Prabhupada gave the solution. That, go and do it. Live in the farm. Be as farmers. Nobody can take the money from you. You are going to produce what you are eating. You are going to use the material what you are going to use. And there is no taxes there. Nobody is going to come and ask you, pay this money for indirect tax or pay this money for direct tax, or, the municipality is not going to come and ask you, pay this money so that I will put you street lights. Or come and ask you for every day some money to clean up the garbage from your house. You pay taxes for cleaning up the garbage from your house, and every day the garbage cleaner comes and asks you, give some money so that I will clean the garbage from your house. So, this is the place where we are living in. And so what we should do, that's why Srila Prabhupada said, farm, farm, farm. Go and live in the farm, peacefully live in the farm. Nobody can, take away your money. No way take away your, your energy. Nobody can take away your, your whatever you have put in. And it's more conducive for even developing Krishna consciousness. And the city, even after doing everything, you are not going to get the good consciousness at all. You are not going to get the good consciousness. So, in the second verse of the Light of Bhagavata book, Srila Prabhupada writes that the government role is to create the good character in the citizens. That is the role of the government. That it has to create the good character. That is the role of the leader also. A leader, what is the role of the leader? A leader actually leads in what way? That he leads that everyone who is following him is being taken up in a good character. The good consciousness is being brought to him. So, Prabhupada again writes that the ancient world, how it used to be, is that the monarch was also given good character by proper counsel. That, the guru or the Kula Guru of the monarch used to teach him when he was a young kid that what is dharma, how to rule the citizen, how not to tax them very, very unjustly, how to use the tax money properly, and when people are having some grievances, how to solve it. He is being taught from when he is a kid. And the same thing for the common man also. When the common man also, we have been taken up in the path of self-realization. That every day after they go to the field and come back home, they were discussing about the stories of Ramayana, stories of Mahabharata, teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam, teachings of Bhagavad Gita. So, even when then also, both the monarch and both the living beings, living the citizens, were actually in the path of self-realization. So, Srila Prabhupada says that the people get what they deserve. People at that time were pious. People at that time were so pious that they thought that the monarch is actually come because of their, previous karma. And when our karma is good, that the new monarch will come who will take care of us in a proper sense. And today, Prabhupada says that the common man itself is actually unscrupulous. He is completely engaged in how I can, usurp others' property, how I can, exploit others, how I can, create more wealth for me and mine, for my family. So when the masses are not obedient, how do you expect the government to be obedient? When the masses are not obedient, they are not obedient. That is why we are supposed to do Sankirtana Yajna. When the masses are not obedient, they are not doing Sankirtana Yajna. Why we have to do Sankirtana Yajna? Because Yajnarthat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. Our purpose is to do Yajnartha. Otherwise, we are doing in karma bandhanaha. We will be in karma bandha. And when we do the Yajna, Parijanyo Anna Sambhava, Parijanya will come, Anna will be possible, rain will come, our food will be provided. Because we are not obedient, Srila Prabhupada writes there that in the God's kingdom, there are very, very pious administrators. The pious administrators are your devatas. The devatas are not going to budge, that they cannot be bribed. They are not going to think that this fellow didn't worship me, other fellow is worshipping me, so I'll give you more rain, and I am not going to give rain to other person. They don't have any power. They are just following what the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is. They are very obedient. But in the kingdom of the common man, the rulers are not obedient because the human being itself is not obedient. The citizens are not himself obedient. So, the solution to this problem, Srila Prabhupada writes at the end of the second verse, is that how you can change the mood of the government by changing your own mood. When you change your own mood of becoming a Bhagavata, becoming a devotee, taking the path of Krishna consciousness, then the whole environment changes, the whole mood changes. Then it will be a peaceful place to practice Krishna consciousness. So, what he writes is that the good character of people brings good character in the government, and that eventually brings happiness to the whole kingdom. When the good character is not developed, the bad character leads to bad government, and that leads to unhappiness. So it's very, very clear. And it's a very, as earlier I told, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, that he has given a very, very, a verse where it is talking about clouds, rain, sun, to give a very, very detailed practical knowledge, a practical description of how to apply this 4 lines of Srimad Bhagavatam in our life, so that our life becomes successful. So we are highly indebted to Srila Prabhupada, and we always pray to him that we are in his footsteps, and thereby we make our life successful. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions, any comments? Yeah. Yeah, very nice point actually. Obedience brings in discipline. Yes, discipline is more important. Yeah. Actually, he says that he says, I missed that point. What he says is that, the taxpayers' money should be used for inculcating the discipline in the government, the people. That should be the purpose of taxpayers' money. But, we are living in a government where, we are living in artificial life. So that's what we will get. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada.